a city that became a kingdom that became a republic that conquered the world. But every rise carries within it the seeds of its fall. At the height of its glory, Rome was not just a city or an empire. It was an unstoppable force that bent kings to its will, crushed armies, and shaped civilizations. From its northern borders in Britannia to the scorching deserts of Arabia, from the Atlantic Ocean to the mountains of Armenia, the Roman Empire stretched like a titan of stone and iron. Paved roads carried invincible legions from one end of the known world to the other, while aqueducts cut through the horizon, bringing the promise of prosperity. Under the rule of Augustus, the first emperor, Rome consolidated its power, ushering in the Pax Romana, 200 years of order, development, and military expansion. The administration became a flawless machine, collecting taxes, managing provinces, and ensuring that Roman justice, relentless and efficient, reached even the most remote corners of the empire. But what seemed eternal was, in truth, a colossus sustained by its own voracious expansion. Military conquests brought wealth and slaves, but also enemies and ever more difficult borders to maintain. Gold flowed into Rome, enriching its citizens, while generals became almost as powerful as the emperors themselves. The spectacle of the Colosseum hid a brutal truth. Rome had become an insatiable beast, always needing more blood, more land, more glory. And like any beast, one day, it would turn on itself. No empire is great enough to challenge time. The same machine that built Rome began, little by little, to become an impossible burden to bear. The Roman territory grew so vast that its administration turned into a labyrinth of bureaucracy and corruption. Provincial governors, once mere representatives of the Senate, now commanded entire armies and amassed fortunes, often wielding more power than the emperor himself. Meanwhile, overexpansion made every border an open wound, vulnerable to invasions and rebellions. To keep this colossus running, more taxes were imposed, more soldiers were recruited, and more coins were minted. But the economy began to show signs of collapse. The cost of sustaining Rome exceeded its gains, and the people, once proud of their empire, now saw it as an unbearable burden. At the same time, Christianity spread like wildfire among the oppressed, challenging the old gods and the very structure of Roman power. The Senate and emperors saw this new faith as a threat to the traditional order, leading to brutal persecutions. But the more Christians were martyred, the stronger their faith grew. Meanwhile, the imperial throne itself became a game of betrayals and madness. Emperor Commodus, who should have inherited the legacy of his predecessors, proved to be an unstable and cruel ruler, more interested in fighting as a gladiator than in governing. If Rome seemed unshakable to the world, within its walls, decay had already taken root, and it wouldn't take long before the weight of its own greatness began to crush it. The imperial crown, once a symbol of absolute power, became a prize fought over with blood and steel. Rome, which once controlled the fate of the world, now couldn't even decide its own ruler. The year of the five emperors, 193 AD, marked the beginning of a dark period. The Roman throne, once sacred, became a commodity to be bought and sold by the army. Rival generals clashed in civil wars, and each new emperor knew that his reign would last only as long as his legions remained satisfied. While Rome tore itself apart from within, the provinces began to rebel. In the west, the Gallic Empire emerged as an independent state, while in the east, Queen Zenobia of Palmyra built her own empire, defying Rome's authority. Fragmentation seemed inevitable, and every attempt to restore order demanded more brutality and more sacrifices. But Rome was not yet ready to fall. Aurelian, the restorer of the world, crushed the rebellions and reunited the empire, while Diocletian, a man of iron, reorganized the government and strengthened the army. However, his reforms came at a cost: the official division of the empire. To prevent Rome's vastness from becoming ungovernable, Diocletian established the Tetrarchy, a system of 4 rulers, each administering a part of the territory. The solution brought temporary stability but sealed the empire's fate. When Theodosius I died in 395 AD, Rome was permanently divided between east and west. What had begun as a strategy to maintain order turned into a death sentence for the western half. The Roman world would never be the same again. The world beyond Rome's borders was in motion. Tribes that once feared Roman might now saw its weakness. The age of the barbarians had arrived. When the Huns, led by the ruthless Attila, swept through the steppes of Asia and advanced toward the west, a devastating domino effect began. Germanic tribes, terrified by the Huns' fury, fled en masse into Roman territory, seeking protection. But Rome was no longer the impenetrable fortress it had once been. Unable to integrate these new peoples and lacking the resources to control them, the empire treated them as invaders, pushing them toward rebellion. In 410 AD, the unthinkable happened. Alaric's Visigoths took and sacked Rome, something that hadn't occurred in 800 years. The city that had ruled the world fell to those it once called barbarians. The final blow came in 476 AD when Odoacer, a Germanic leader, deposed the last Western Roman emperor, the young Romulus Augustulus. With no strong army, no gold to buy loyalty, and no government capable of responding, the Western Roman Empire ceased to exist. Yet, while the West crumbled, the East, now known as the Byzantine Empire, endured, preserving Rome's legacy for another 1,000 years. Rome's fall was not a single event but a slow agony, in which an empire that once seemed immortal was corroded from within and crushed by external forces. The Roman eagle, which had once dominated the skies of the world, had finally fallen. Rome fell, but its shadow never disappeared. Its spirit lives on in cities, laws, languages, and beliefs that shaped the modern world. The empire may have crumbled, but Rome never died. Its armies are gone, its legions no longer march, and its emperors have become mere names in history books. But Rome did not vanish. In the East, the Byzantine Empire carried the Roman torch for another millennium, preserving its culture, administration, and grandeur. In the West, the Catholic Church inherited its spiritual and political authority, emerging as the new dominant force in medieval Europe. Roman law, carved in stone and tradition, became the foundation of modern legal systems. Its language, Latin, echoed in every nation that rose from its ashes, giving birth to Italian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian. Even the imperial dream of Rome never truly died. Kings, tsars, and medieval emperors sought to recreate its glory, from the Holy Roman Empire to the rise of Napoleon. Every paved road, every standing column, every legal code still in force bears witness to an empire that refused to be forgotten. Rome was more than an empire, it was an idea, and ideas do not die. Whenever a leader raises their voice in the name of order, whenever a civilization expands its culture beyond its borders, whenever a people fight to carve their history in marble and steel, the echo of Rome resounds. Its body fell, but its spirit became eternal. After all, as the saying goes, eternal Rome, invincible Rome. Rome may have fallen, but legends never die. They are told. Fire if you want more epic stories like this. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Together, we will relive the great empires and their heroes.